All right, here we go. D.L. Hughley, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
It was kind of a close call, since last time.
It was. What are you talking? What on earth are you talking about?
What on earth am I talking about? Well, let's just start off with it. There's a video of you performing in a club in Tennessee.
Right.
And you end up collapsing on stage.
Right.
Passing out, something.
And the dude, Derek, who was my security guard, he is a great security guard, but a shitty shortstop. He'll never return punts. He's Mexican, so he's used to doing stuff with his feet. Now, if it had been a soccer ball, he'd have kicked me back out. But I was performing. I had just come out of Dallas. I'd been in Dallas the week previous. And it's funny because people are like, how did you get it? Well, I knew how I got it because I did everything you wasn't supposed to be fucking doing, right? Like I was in large crowds. They didn't have masks on. I was there for four days and 3 shows a day. And I had assumed I'd had it because I had been so sick that previous January that I thought I had it. As a matter of fact, when I got back from Nashville, I was scheduled to take the antibodies test. And so when I got in, I went to work, did their TV show and the radio show, got on a plane, went to Nashville, did 2 shows Thursday. And the second show on Friday, the first show was cool. The second show, I was like, I feel, you ever have like your blood sugar drop? I felt like that. And I knew I was going to pass out. I was like, I think I'm going to pass out. And I initially had tried to get my opening act to go a little longer. But Derek, of course, couldn't catch me or catch the signal that I needed more time. So I get on stage and the rest is history, and I pass out, and then I wake up in the hospital, and they ran tests, and they told me I was dehydrated, but they wanted to run some more tests. And one of the things they do now, if you go to the hospital for anything, is take a COVID test. So the test came back, I was dehydrated, and my electrolytes were low. And then I came back COVID positive. So they immediately, right then and there, everybody acts like, everybody come in looking like spacemen, and they wheel me down. And, the elevator with the yellow and black tape on it, and we kept going down. I'm like, how fucking far are we going down? It's getting hot. It's getting hot. And so we go into a room, and, they have the protocol, and they start asking me questions. And one of the questions was, in case you're incoherent or unable to speak, is there a message you'd like to write to your loved ones? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking?
Wow.
So,
like a last will and testament,
right?
Almost?
Kind of that type of thing. And at that point, I was like, is it because I didn't feel anything? Literally felt nothing except from the dehydration, and I didn't. So they ran a CT scan and the brain scan and all those kind of scans to make sure I wasn't having hadn't had a stroke or anything. And then they found this thing. I had always had it. It's called Yamaguchi syndrome, where the bottom of my heart is sticking. Like 1% of the people in the world have it. Like usually only Japanese ladies have it. Like, and so, but it's right where the heart, the ventricle is, and if I'm ever dehydrated, it's like that. And I guess between COVID and drinking and not hydrating, it was what made me pass out. And then I did my quarantine, and that was it. But my family got it, like my co-host, all of them got it on the radio. Like 7 people out on the radio show got it, and the only person who didn't get it was my daughter, and she wore a mask every day. So I'm sure like everybody got it, but she didn't because she had a mask on.
Right, because I called you as soon as I saw the video. Like someone DM'd it to me, and I got on the phone with you right away. Right. Like, yo.
You were like actually the first one. I was like,
I was the first one to call?
I didn't know how bad it was till you called.
Okay.
Like I'm like, what the fuck is Vlad? What the fuck is Vlad on the
shit, Vlad's calling me.
Right.
This is not a good sign.
I thought Kanye kirked the fuck out again, but no. It was. And then I saw your feed. We said, no, I just talked to him. He's fine. I'm like, how big is this? is it like I had no idea it had gone.
Right. Well, because people were freaking out. Like people saw it.
Right.
And everyone started hitting me.
Right.
And even though I didn't get your express permission,
Right.
I'm like, okay, I just talked to D.L. Hughley. He's okay.
Right.
And that's all I said.
I saw that, and then I was like, who, how, so, and then later on, a nurse came in, and she goes, is this you? And I just saw the headline and I didn't see the live thing, and she left. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. So now you're in Tennessee.
Yeah.
With coronavirus.
Right.
And they let you out of the hospital.
Right. And you know what the funny thing is? If my EKG had been normal, they'd have just let me out the hospital right there. The only reason I stayed was for them to run other tests on other things. But if I'd have just had corona, I'd have been out in hours.
Right. But you're far away from home.
Right.
You're in a hotel.
Right. I'm at this dope ass hotel that I like to stay at. Mm-hmm. And so we get back to the hotel, and of course, it's all over the fucking news. So I'm walking through the lobby, right? Me and my dog Charlie, like my 8-month-old, my 7-month-old Akita, he goes on the road with me, so we walking through the thing. And everybody's clearing. I've never had so many people be so deferential to me. No, you take the elevator.
It's like the Red Sea just
Matter of fact, you get that whole fucking floor. So I go up to the room. I tell Derek, hey man, I'm hungry. Let's go up to the bar. He go, motherfucker, you can't leave the room, right? So he goes to get me something to eat. And then we get a call from the manager of the hotel. Like, people are uncomfortable and they want you to leave. And I was like, what? And so we, tried to get, obviously commercial airlines was out of the question. So then we looked at private jets, and we booked one. It canceled once they found out I had COVID.
The pilot was like, "No,
nope. Like fuck that." We booked another one. It canceled. We booked another one. It canceled. So I'm on this thing called The Thread. It's me and Anthony Anderson and George Lopez and Ced the Entertainer and Chris Spencer and Don Cheadle. So I tell them what's going on. They basically call the charter company we use and go, hey, if you don't fly him out, we're never using you again.
Oh, wow.
And so they got me. So I got on the plane, and they had, Vlad, when I tell you shit was all taped up, it was plastic. Like, they waited till I got on the plane, and then we flew in. Even when my wife picked me up, she had the Range Rover all taped off, and I had to sit in the fucking back. It was crazy. Crazy. It was insane.
How much does a private plane cost from Tennessee back to LA?
About 24.
Right.
24,000.
24,000.
But it was either that or be homeless. Like, it was fucking...
Right, because there's one thing to have coronavirus, but being famous with coronavirus is a whole new thing.
Right. It was fucking... And everybody knew. And everybody was calling. So it was everywhere. I had no idea. And then when I got back to LA, I passed out again. Because I thought, oh, okay, this is what I thought. I was like, oh, they told me I was dehydrated. Even though I didn't drink anymore or hydrate, I thought, oh, okay, it'll never happen again. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm out again. So then the worst thing about corona is that nobody will fucking take you. Nobody will take you. My regular doctor is like doing teleconference. Nigga, you look fine to me. He didn't give a fuck about none of that. Like, I had one of those concierge doctors that's supposed to, he's like, fuck that, I'm not coming to see you. And my blood pressure kept dropping. So on the thread again, I tell them what happened, that I can't get a doctor. George Lopez and Ced, they're doing all the things. Anthony Anderson gets his friend who's a doctor for the Knicks to call a doctor at UCLA who's a doctor for the Lakers. They take me. And they get me in, and they got to drop me off, and I go through this thing, and the COVID unit was weird. And I get in, and then they do these tests I swear to God, in 45 minutes, they come back. This is what's wrong. That's when I found out I had Yamaguchi's. That's why you passed out. This is what's going on. This is what we need to do about it. And I stayed there for a day. But the weirdest thing is, I would see these nurses that were coming back. So mind you, I'm in 4 days, I'm in 2 different hospitals on 2 different sides of the country. There's nurses that are coming back with iPads. And I guess the iPads were high, because I don't care what you have, if you're in a COVID unit, that's where you are. Whatever you have, everybody got COVID is there. Mm-hmm. The nurses are coming back and they have iPads. And I was thinking, man, this shit is dope. They giving away fucking iPads? They were using the iPads so that people could see their families because no one could come up. Then I was talking to this, I had this really sweet nurse. She was really great. All the doctors were dope. And she said, I said, what are they doing? And she said, well, those are so they can talk to their family. And they said, but this other, he's not gonna make it. I said, how do you know he's not? Like, that's fucking morbid. Well, you just say, she said, no, he's not. He's not gonna make it. And he's saying goodbye to his family. And he was 34.
Ooh, wow.
34, so I was like, hurry up and get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have this guy, Dr. Khan. He's a medical doctor in Las Vegas. You know, we've had him on the show a couple of times, and he DM'd me the other day. He said he's had 15 people die so far on his watch. Yeah.
And it became real. And then, you know, you hear people saying this dumb shit. Like, people are dying for misinformation. Mm-hmm. Like, it's funny that they won't believe one of the, like, remember when Chuck Woolery said something? Like, who the fuck are you gonna believe? Like, the foremost epidemiologist in the world, or the motherfucker who said we'll be back in 2 and 2. And then his son came down with it, said it was a hoax. Chuck Woolery said it was a hoax. Then his son comes out and it gets off social media. Like, these people, like, I guess today or yesterday, these supposed to be doctors are talking about there's a cure for corona, and it was this African lady.
Yeah, Dr. Stella Emanuel.
Let me tell you something. And this bitch says that black women get fibroids because they're having sex with demons.
In their dreams.
Fibroids are linked, for black women, are linked to putting chemicals in the hair. So if it's a demon, it's fucking called Dark and Lovely or Poisonous Light Touch. It's not a fucking, but she says that, and then she says the that drug.
Hydrochloroquine.
That drug my mother takes because she has lupus. A lot of black women have lupus. Mm-hmm. Now, so if that were fucking true, then they would already be immunized because they've been on it, right?
Yeah.
So they would not, but we won't fucking believe. See, the thing I can't understand, if you put doctor or fucking preacher in front of your name, you don't have to have an office or a pulpit, and you're on the internet, people will fucking believe you.
Right, because Trump actually like retweeted her. Mm-hmm. And then his son retweeted her also, right, and got suspended on Twitter.
Right. Do you know how I know it's bullshit? Because Facebook never suspends lies if they can make money off them.
Right. They actually suspended
that if they video. Suspend you, they don't give a fuck. You can lie about anything, but and the other thing, the reason I know it's a lie is because Donald Trump would never let a black woman give America good news.
Well, Dr. Stella Emanuel, I'm not quite sure she's a doctor because she's also like a preacher. She has like her own like church.
Right.
I don't know.
So she's both of them.
She's both. Double whammy.
Trump would never let a black person give America good news. Never. Well, remember, like, hey, look, I saved the world. And if he would never let a woman that sounded like she's one of them shit old countries, as he calls them, give good news.
Right, she's African.
He would never. You think Trump don't let Americans, black Americans speak. He ain't gonna let no African lady speak.
I mean, aside from her claiming that, you know, hydrochloroquine is a cure and no one should be wearing masks, she also claims that alien DNA is being used in medicine.
Sure.
That there are reptiles pretending to be human.
Right.
In the government. And what else? There's a few, you know, there's the demon sperm, of course. The whole demon sperm thing.
Trump only likes a certain type of black person. He hates Colin Powell, but he loves Kanye. Like he fucking like he hates he hates Diamond Waters, but he loves Diamond and Silk.
Yeah.
Like he picks niggas for a specific reason.
Ridicule.
It always and like it's always like he, whether you like Barack Obama or not, he's a remarkable man.
Mm-hmm.
He's you can't say he's average. He's a better human being than Trump. Here's the thing: if you had a child that grew up and became Barack Obama, regardless of the political ideology he espoused, you'd be proud. Yeah. If you knew your baby's gonna grow up like Donald Trump, you'd drown that motherfucker in a bathtub.
Well, I remember when we put up the article about Dr. Stella Emanuel, someone said, who put a wig on Kanye?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, hey, girl, if you're going to give good news, run a comb through your fucking head. She looked like somebody woke her up in the middle of a fire. Get out of the house immediately. You get ready to tell the world that you solved the pandemic. You basically saved the world. And you look like you work at a fucking cafeteria. Shut up. Stop it.
Well, remember when they asked Trump about her, he like walked out.
Right. But look at what it's fairly simple. He trucks in mistrust. The reason, one of the reasons that this disease disproportionately affects Black people is because we have a trust of the medical apparatus, and they have a distrust of us. So we don't believe that they're telling us the truth and they're there for our best interest, and they don't believe we have symptoms or we feel pain.
Yeah, and you can look back at the like Tuskegee Airmen experiments and stuff like that, which is why if we post anything about Bill Gates, there's 100 comments about he's injecting tracking devices and he's trying to kill us all and everything else like that. When me personally, I'm riding with Bill Gates.
I tell you what. Now, I know that obviously we have had our problems with the medical profession. I think they have sometimes been what the government has been, and very destructive to Black people. But I'm gonna believe a dude who went to school for this rather than a motherfucker who said demons fuck you in your sleep. And the fact that people take that shit seriously is fucking amazing to me. I'm like, it defies logic. Like Donald Trump tells people that ingesting disinfectant, which is great for Trump supporter. I can see why you would take bleach because it's just like him. It's like great for whites, but hell on colors. So I can see, but
yeah, if all the Trump supporters drank bleach, I wouldn't have a bad day.
Nobody would. They're not. I tell you what, they don't trust that motherfucker that much. What they'll do is, look, I believe Obama is a Muslim, but I ain't taking Lysol.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why does a rich motherfucker like yourself start taking gigs and flying across the country and going into crowded spaces and going on planes and everything else like that?
One, ultimately, I thought, I'd had it. And two, it's what I do. Do you know how horrible it is to see all this shit going on and to know that your gig is to chronicle it and not be able to?
Okay.
It's the fucking gig. It's what I do. It's like you're an essential worker if you make sure that people get their fucking burger on time. But what about if you help them to forget about this bullshit for an hour?
Right. But as someone who is in their 50s,
right,
you have to be smart to get to this age.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You probably wear seatbelts.
Right.
I haven't met too many senior citizens who don't wear seatbelts.
Right.
So you understand self-preservation more than a 20-year-old.
Right.
And you understand long-term thinking and everything else like that. And although this is what you do, you understand that not only are you taking a risk, but you're putting everyone around you.
Trust me, I understand it more succinctly.
Right. Imagine if someone around you ended up dying from it because of you.
It was the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought that I had it in January. And like I told you earlier, I was coming to take the antibodies.
Yeah, I took the antibody test and I tested negative.
Yeah.
I think everyone thought that they had it already.
And so.
But I didn't.
But for me, like even to go anywhere, like even to take a gig, you're not gonna do it in California. I had to go to a state where they didn't give a fuck about their people.
Right.
Let
them all,
they don't give
let them all die.
In Texas,
yeah,
they don't give a fuck.
Oh yeah, go to Florida.
Right, they don't care. So, but instantly when I got there, I knew it was like nobody had masks, nobody was social distancing. They had taken the chairs out, obviously. But, you know, we took our temperatures and the oxygen and all the precautionary things you're supposed to do. I never had any symptoms. So I kind of thought it wouldn't be me, and it was.
Yeah, and, you know, Bill Gates recently did an interview, and he talked about sort of what went wrong to get us to this point. And, you know, he looked at when you look at the European countries that were hit really bad, worse than us initially, and now they're doing well. He said the reason for it is because, you know, the leaders of those countries took a very serious approach to it, told everyone to wear masks, told everyone to stay at home. They had their scientists front and center, which they supported. Right. And now those countries are doing well. In the US, you got Donald Trump.
Who trucks in misinformation.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. Also what those European countries did, they also took care of their people and made it feasible for them to stay home.
Yeah.
They made it feasible for them to stay home. They suspended mortgages. They made sure that they had $2,000 a month. They made sure. Yeah. So it became feasible. But now, isn't it funny how we went from caravans and people invading our country, and now they're essential workers? Like America was under quarantine so long, when they came back, Black Lives Matter. Like look at all so the reason that we are like that, if you look at why America's in the shape that it is, in addition to the things that Bill Gates said, a lot of countries have a collective attitude. They're worried about the collective. America's an individual.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if I hear one more white person tell me that a mask is like slavery, I think if they say that one more time, we should be able to sell their kids. I ain't bullshitting. Where's my son? Oh, that little fucker's out in the field. Where's my wife? You'll find out. Like they compare, because white people are so devoid of having actually been oppressed that they have to co-opt oppression. They have to co-opt. They have no examples. We were oppressed because we were these people. They have the least oppression for people.
Well, then you got Trump that's saying the only reason why we have more cases because there's more testing,
right? Which
doesn't take into account that all the hospitals are filling up and all the ICUs and people are dying. People are now dying at a higher rate.
But more than anything else, it's cowardice. It's selfishness and cowardice. Because people, why the fuck? So this is how this works. So the old white men who support him refuse to go to a convention because they know that will put their life in jeopardy. But they want teachers to go back to work. They want teachers to open the school. They want people to go back to work. And they want to vote by mail because they know that being in large crowds is very dangerous. But they want to deny other people that same right. You're demanding that our children go to school, but Barron's school is not going to open.
Let me tell you, in all my years of seeing U.S. presidents come and go, I never once thought that there would be a sitting U.S. president that would publish a video that says white power.
Yeah.
And
only because the presidents that we had before didn't have video, but it's
Trump had video.
It's technology. It's people like when Joe Biden said he's America's first racist president. That's not fucking true.
Right. We actually broke it down. George Washington had like 150 slaves.
Absolutely.
Jefferson had like 100-something slaves. Right. All these presidents had dozens, if not hundreds of slaves. Right. Up until like 1850 something.
Let's be clear. American presidents hating black people is not new. It's fucking retro.
Retro.
It is. I'll say this. He's an affront. There might have been one president that certainly didn't hate black people, and that was probably Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That might be the only one.
Bill Clinton.
And I like Bill Clinton a lot, and I thought.
I mean, but the prison laws kind of support.
There's been one guy that I can certainly say for sure.
For sure.
Didn't hate black people. And everybody else, like this whole idea, it should be beyond more people. Do you know that there are 120,000 people in some cities that we have, some towns? There are more. That would be like all those people are dead and gone. 150,000 Americans are gone.
Yeah.
And that's acceptable to some people. Who the fuck would sign up for this again on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I actually check the charts every day. Right now, there's 152,000 deaths.
Yeah.
With 4.5 million confirmed COVID cases.
And so it isn't that just we're testing more. It's that the infection rate is higher, and the mortality, more people are dying. Yeah. And it's that you pretend like it doesn't happen, and that he thinks that this happened to him. That he thinks like I heard somebody say, well, he gave you $1,200. He gave everybody a $1,200 check because he fucking had to. It was a catastrophe of his own design. Let's be clear. Even if we're being generous, the first incarnation of this, you could see, because no one had ever seen it before. This incarnation, this surge, is because he forced people. You remember when Liberate Michigan, Liberate Ohio, Liberate Massachusetts, remember all those people forcing all those governments? Remember DeSantis? They said it would be a surge and that Florida would be like New York, and it's been 8 weeks, and then the next thing, something. Because we have too many fucking smart people who are cowards and submissive to too many dumb people. Like Fauci let a lot of this shit stand when he should have checked him right then and there. He should have said, that's a lie. He should have said, that's not true. But he kind of stood there and was mealy-mouthed. And all of a sudden it created this, well, maybe he is telling the truth. Maybe he isn't.
Right, because what usually happens when people start to disagree with Trump, he fires them and replaces them with someone else every single time.
But even when it's not just when they disagree, even when people start to believe them, or somebody start to like them more.
Once again, I never thought in my lifetime that I would see a situation like Roger Stone. This is someone who got convicted of working with the Russians to affect the election.
And you're fucking Russians. That's what I'm saying. See?
And Trump pardons him before he starts his sentence.
This is the first president that has...
I mean, usually they get pardoned at the end on their way out. He pardons them right there. He gives no fucks whatsoever.
No. And he put it in place, and we're accepting it and normalizing it. And I'll tell you this. This is the first president in history that has more friends in prison than me. Literally. And I grew up on 135th, and I was like, this motherfucker knows more convicts than I do.
Well, and now what people are saying is that if Trump loses the election, there's a legitimate worry that he's not going to leave the office.
I don't worry about that. I don't worry about that.
I don't know. Do
you know why I don't worry about that?
People are saying he might mobilize the National Guard to surround the White House and refuse to leave office.
I don't worry about that. You know why? Because if he does lose, if he loses the presidency, that means a bunch of political allies lost too. And the one thing those motherfuckers are is self-preservationists. They like Trump and fear Trump because he's to be feared. If he loses, they will abandon that ship like fucking rats.
Well, I have a friend who works with the mayor of D.C., who we interviewed not too long ago. And he was telling me how Trump actually tried to pull that in D.C. He tried to bring the National Guard to basically take over the police force in D.C. And the Secretary of Defense actually stopped it.
Yeah.
Now, Trump could have actually fired the Secretary of Defense and put someone else in that would agree with him, but at that point, he kind of backed off. So he's already trying to do this martial law kind of thing.
Here's the thing. Just everybody's like, well, the polls were wrong before. The polls were actually not wrong. The numbers were wrong. The allocation of the numbers. Clinton did win by more votes.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Popular
just that
votes.
the way that they were parsed out was different.
Mm-hmm.
The problem and they always make these false equivalences. They go, well, when Bush Sr. was running against Michael Dukakis, Bush Sr. was not an incumbent.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump has never been popular. And I'm not saying that he can't lose, obviously, because he can. But he can't win because obviously he can. But I'm saying this. We've never seen any president in modern history be upside down like this and won. Because what does he, and it's all his doing. Right now, we're in the situation that we're in right now because he was ignorant and incompetent. Fuck a second term. He should be up for second-degree murder.
Well, I think that's what he's worried about, is that if he doesn't get reelected,
right,
all the wolves are just going to come in.
And let me tell you something else. I think the Congress will improve. I think they'll gain more seats. I think that senators will lose more seats than they think they will. And so you won't have that shield. Now, all of a sudden, all the people that protected you before won't. And those other people will have come through an election where they saw what happened to the people in front of them. They're not going to be inclined. People fear him. They don't love or respect him. And the minute they don't have to, they're self-preservationists. The minute they don't have to, watch this. If his numbers keep tanking like this, they're going to not only start to abandon him, they're going to vocally abandon him.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait. Well, let's switch gears for a second. Someone who we've talked about many times before, Terry Crews.
Yes.
In a very Terry Crews type of thing, once again, he decides to put up the word coon and use the acronym Conquering Our Own Negativity.
Right.
My stomach turned, honestly, when I read that.
I think Terry Crews is a cat who is liked by a lot of Americana, a lot of middle-aged white women, a lot of liberal white women love him, and he's like their fucking mascot, and it appeals to him. And the funny thing that Terry Crews was talking about, he actually coined the phrase black supremacy, which he was worried about. Now, before, we just got to the point where Black Lives Matter, where black people were considered human beings. It's a long way before we're supreme. And I think that when that's your worry, he seems to always find a way to ask questions or answer questions no one's asking. And I think he comes off as disingenuous. And when it is that you make people comfortable, people that dislike you or disagree, like I can understand us having disagreement, but people are arguing about whether our lives matter. Like we just had Tim Cotton, a senator from Arkansas, doing an interview. He said that the founding fathers knew that slavery was a necessary evil. A necessary evil. So that was how they qualified it. That was how they explained it away. You are not ever going to go from we had to do this to you, you're a necessary evil, to now you're running the country. As a matter of fact, it's never happened. And I think one of the reasons you're seeing what you're seeing right now and this fear and trepidation, because the country is changing. In 25 to 30 years, we'll be a majority minority country. And there are people who don't want it to be that way. But I think when you are Terry Crews and you ask these questions, you answer questions that no one is asking, it comes off as disingenuous and ill-informed. Like maybe he should put down the curl bar and pick up a fucking history book.
Right. And, Terry, I know you watch these interviews and so forth. You've responded to me publicly and so forth. You may not care about this because, you're obviously just chasing the dollar right now. But one thing that I think about that other people who I feel are great think about is our legacy, how we're remembered. And Terry, who I think is a good actor, is funny, has had great roles. He was great in Next Friday. He was great on Everyone Hates Chris. And, he's had what I feel is a good career. He's really going to be remembered, and to his children and so forth, as someone that you don't want to be remembered as.
Hey, man, I tell you what. Chance the Rapper came out and supported Kanye.
Right.
When Terry Crews went, you're right, he went, fuck that.
I'm off this hill.
Right.
Yeah.
I swear to God, Terry Crews, I swear, if Terry Crews had been as aggressive with a dude who grabbed his dick as he is with Black Lives Matter, we're not having this conversation. Like, I literally think, I do not understand. Like, he wrote a children's book, which is a noble thing to do. Nobody quite gets what you're doing because these kind of statements will come out of it's a conversation we're not even having.
Right. Because people were responding and was like, Terry, this is a horrible term. This is not something to be embraced.
Right.
You don't put this on a t-shirt.
Right.
And he said, I agree the word is horrible, but I've learned to catch the lemons thrown at you. I make lemonade, I make lemon bars, I make a lemon-scented hand sanitizer, blah, 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 a bunch of nonsense where it's like.
I swear, Terry Crews and Kanye West should get a room in the same fucking mental asylum.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
They should have kids.
They should have the same fucking medication.
They should make out.
What do they make niggas like that at?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I almost feel like he's kind of trolling black people on white people's behalf.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's the same thing because they know there really is no consequence because they really do.
Right,
the
because
white people aren't gonna get so mad they run you off, and black people don't matter to a lot of people in the high system of the hierarchy. So they'll go, well, he said it to his own people and it's fine, and we don't kind of have enough.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point because had he said something similar, like let's just say he said KIKE stands for kindness,
right?
Innovation, new something else. I don't know.
Never do that.
That would be the end of his America's Got Talent. Job right then and there. But I guess since he's speaking about his own people, he could take a racial slur like that and turn it into some nonsense.
They all understand. I'm gonna tell you something. Like everybody tells me how Kanye is mentally ill. He's not Nick Cannon mentally ill. He's not gonna say anything about white people or Jewish people. He knows that he can say things and nothing will happen to him because he speaks about slaves and a legacy there. So he knows that. But usually, if somebody's mentally ill, when people say the insane shit those men do, usually they live under a fucking underpass with a cardboard sign that said "Repent, Jesus is coming." They do. They're like, and I don't feel bad for people that can access help with just saying yes. They have the resources to do it, so it serves a purpose. But to denigrate to give people, I hope that I never give people who hate me or people like me comfort. I hope they never go, that really made me feel good. And I think that both those men have done things that made people who really are hell-bent on making sure that they have a destructive effect on your life feel comfortable.
Yeah, I remember when I was talking to Lunel, and we were talking about the Biden statement about the Trump being the first elected racist in office. And we were just talking about all the early presidents who had slaves. Lunel's like, well, Trump probably got slaves himself. And I'm like, really? She's like, oh yeah, Kanye for sure.
Yeah, what about Diamond and Silk?
Diamond and Silk.
And it's always amazing to me how people, they always go back. Like, we're always distracted. Like, Trump was like, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. But the week before, he signed an executive order protecting monuments to men who are actually terrorists.
Yeah.
Who's killed more people, literally? Black Lives Matter or Andrew Jackson?
Robert E. Lee.
So everybody that's understand. Matter of fact, and the only predicate for getting a statue in America is to be brutal to black people, to kill a lot of black people. the last time America erected a statue to a white dude that didn't kill a lot of black people was Rocky, and he beat the shit out of Clubber Lang and Apollo Creed.
That wasn't even a real statue.
Right.
That was just a movie statue.
Right.
Well, you mentioned Nick Cannon. And this is a weird one for me because Nick is actually my friend.
Yeah.
Who's
Nick's
been on my
I love
show tons of times. Me and him, he's helped me through some personal issues in my life. I helped him through some personal issues. We've talked probably on the phone as much as we've talked on camera.
Sure.
And then he did that interview with Professor Griff. And me and him haven't talked. We were supposed to talk that day, and we couldn't connect.
He's too busy at synagogue to talk to you right now.
Too busy at the synagogue. So I'm not really going to say my feelings about him because me and him haven't talked yet.
Sure.
But when you first saw that interview, what did you think?
When I first saw the interview, I was like, what the fuck is he doing talking to Professor Griff? That interview could have never gone any other way than it did. And the fact that you didn't understand that was, if you get kicked out of Public Enemy because you're anti-Semitic.
Too extreme.
Probably you shouldn't do it.
Right. I've interviewed Professor Griff before.
Yeah.
And I've actually asked him about the anti-Semitic comments. He goes, look, this was part of a bigger interview. This was just a thing. This was my mind state back then.
And that would have been, but
it wasn't like he didn't, really, it was Nick talking more than Griff.
Right.
Nick was pretty much holding the torch in that conversation.
Right. And I didn't understand. Like, if you have somebody like that on, you already know that it's going to have a certain bend to it. So you have to be prepared to challenge some of the things he says. But nothing. There was zero to be gained from it. And Nick really has to understand this. Nick is the host. Before America's Got Talent and The Masked Singer. Nick is accepted in the general market.
Mm-hmm.
He was on CBS radio. You can't get more general market for a black. There are very few black people that can do what he does. You got to decide if that's what you want. You can't be the host of The Masked Singer and these general market shows and then have Professor Griff on and think that audience isn't going to have a reaction.
Yeah. Well, I think with Nick, I think he struggles with, his success on the commercial side of things.
And he wants it edgy.
Versus being remembered as an icon to the black struggle.
Sure. And I get it. But let me tell you something. You can't be general market and then wear a turban looking like the Swami from Big. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't be general market. That is your bread and butter, literally. Like talk shows. Radio show.
Yeah.
You can't walk around, and I think that I've noticed that some people resent the things they don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel that Nick wants to be like a Harry Belafonte, someone who had a great deal of commercial success, but also spoke out against the struggle. But it's a line between those two. And listen, he came on VladTV and talked a lot of shit. Like he said a lot of edgy things.
Right.
But not quite as edgy as what he did.
Well, because look at the person
Griff.
he was talking to.
Right. He's talking to me.
Yeah.
A white Jewish guy.
Right. So it didn't look like it was insidious. It looked listen, and he put it back out. The interview was a year ago.
That interview was a year ago?
It was a year ago. It wasn't
new.
And he put it back out.
Right.
So
people always blame me about the stuff I put out, but Nick put that out himself.
Right.
On his own YouTube channel, with his own
editing, his own podcast,
his own everything.
He controlled the whole narrative. He could have said, we don't want this out. He could have not.
Of course.
And let's be clear.
Of course.
The only there is no other medium outlet where a guy like Professor Griff, and I love Public Enemy, but what other outlet could he be on besides a podcast?
Yeah. Professor Griff has his own.
That's it.
Little following. I'm not going to say little, but he has his own committed following, but it's not a mainstream following.
And it ain't worth, the steak ain't worth the sizzle, baby. It ain't.
Well, after that interview, Viacom severed their ties with Nick because apparently Nick wouldn't apologize initially for his comments. Saying that whites and Jews were, their lack of melanin made them evil and subhuman,
Sure.
and the whole conspiracy theories about Jews controlling the world, and the whole original Jew versus the what they call the fake Jew and everything else like that. And let me tell you, like, as someone who identifies as a Russian Jew,
right,
this whole concept of chosen people to me is just so repulsive on so many levels that, number one, it's all make-believe, right? Saying that God favors a certain group of people over another. This is all just fantasy fairy tales and so forth. There's no.
But it is one that people have weaponized.
Right.
And one that
exactly.
So
what happens is the people who feel they are chosen have a certain level of, antipathy towards everyone else.
Right.
You see this very clearly in the Hasidic Jewish neighborhoods. Right. They don't, and I used to live in one. I used to live in Borough Park in Brooklyn. Those people didn't give a shit about me. They knew I wasn't a Hasid. It didn't matter if I was Jewish. They wouldn't give a shit about me. They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't say hello. Nothing.
Right.
So it's
very insulated.
They had their own community. They had their own language, their own schools, their own hospitals, everything else like that. Like, remember the whole thing?
No outsiders at all.
No outsiders at all. At all. They're, everything shuts down.
I know, I watched the documentary. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, because remember there was the whole Crown Heights incident where a black kid got hit by a Hasidic Jewish guy. The Hasidic ambulance showed up, took the guy in the car, left the black kid to die.
Sure.
I don't think people realize that if I was that black kid, they would leave me to die also, because I'm not a Hasidic Jew.
Right.
So you have these groups. So then what happens then? You have a group that feels they're superior to everyone else.
Sure.
Then you have these other groups who look at these people and either feel like angered that they're not superior, or they say, well, really, we're the real Jews. We're the real children of Israel. These are fake Jews, and we're really the superior ones. And now we need to somehow destroy this other lying group of people. And all it does is create hate and anger.
But that's my whole thing. Whenever somebody believes that God is on their side,
right,
then they are required almost. Because if I am right, then everybody else is wrong. If I'm going to heaven, then you're going to hell.
Yeah.
And this notion, I was reading an article, we were talking about this, where white evangelicals in America tend to hold more racist views than secular people.
I believe it.
Because do you remember the San Francisco Giants player that wouldn't kneel, even though it was the Giants and the Dodgers, he wouldn't kneel because of his... He's a Christian. He's a Christian.
Yeah.
Isn't the Klan too?
Yeah, I mean, they burn crosses, Christian, right? Too?
Yeah. So, and the thing that I never understood is that so many white supremacists use the Bible, and it's not one white person in the Bible. Like, if Jesus came back and saw that white dude hanging from the cross, he would wonder, who the fuck is the acrobat?
Who's the stunt devil?
Right. I didn't die for your sins to work at Cirque du Soleil. And then, like, it's so funny the things that people accept. Like, people got mad when Julia Roberts allegedly was going to play Harriet Tubman, but they didn't get mad because
Julia Roberts was not going to play.
But
Harriet
I know,
Tubman.
but that was the whole thing. And people like, oh, what if she? What if she? And I'm like, I don't know why.
But Hollywood has such a history of this, like the Last Samurai.
But the funny thing is, a white dude been playing Jesus for 500 years, like literally.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't look anything like Brad Pitt from the Legends of the Fall.
And as someone who's been to Israel multiple times, as well as the other parts of the Middle East like Egypt, Bahrain, Jordan, and so forth, there are no white people in that area
at all.
At all. It's too damn hot. Okay.
And then you'll hear people like, I remember Megyn Kelly. She was on Fox. She goes, everybody knows that Santa was white and Jesus was white. And in full disclosure,
Santa, a fictional character,
right?
Okay.
But at one point, I was like, in full disclosure, Jesus did do some things that made me believe he was white. Like when he turned over all them tables at that temple and didn't go to jail. I was like, But I knew he was black when he got convicted and executed for a crime he never committed. I was like, oh yeah, this is it.
There you go. There you go. Well, Nick Cannon ended up losing Wild 'N Out.
Sure.
And I remember I interviewed him about this. That was a show that everyone turned down.
Yeah.
He spent $50,000 of his own money doing his own pilot.
Right.
And then once Viacom saw it, they partnered with him.
Right.
And I always assumed that he had controlling interest of it, but apparently not. Because if someone could basically shut down your show right there, that means the Viacom had controlling interest.
And also, it had gone away, and they asked for it to come back. They asked for it back, and it was just kind of like mailbox money, because then the tour would go out. It was very, very profitable.
Oh, he has restaurants, I think. Yeah, well, like Wild 'N Out, like bars and stuff like that.
And look how many stars it made. But the thing that's interesting to me is that when he lost, he wasn't going to apologize to Viacom, but if you're going to apologize early, because then and the thing about
he did apologize afterwards.
Of course.
Because remember, Fox said that we're going to keep him on as the host, because he's actually a producer of The Masked Singer. He's not just a host; he's a producer. But I'm sure Fox still holds the.
They got rid of Rupert Murdoch, so they don't. I mean, and
he started it. Yeah. No, I feel you. So
the thing that was interesting about the whole, it would have been hard for Fox to justify getting rid of Nick Cannon when the very week that happened, Tucker Carlson had to fire a writer who was spewing all this racist tropes. Like Tucker Carlson said, I've never seen a white supremacist, but apparently he never went to the writer's room. So it'd have been tough. It would have been tough to fire Nick for racist epithet, for racist tropes, and not 3 days before, and not fire Tucker Carlson. So I think the company was in a bit of a dilemma.
Well, after losing Wild 'N Out, he actually made an actual apology at that point. And then he interviewed the head of the Anti-Defamation League.
Yeah.
And I remember Nick started kind of saying, like, I've never had a situation where I upset all these Jewish people and then I apologized and I upset all the black people. Because he did the interview, and then he visited the Holocaust Museum, and he pledged, I believe, like his first month paycheck from The Masked Singer to the Holocaust Museum. And it was one of those situations where I saw all my followers, which is primarily a black audience, they were all mad at him. They were all upset that he did that. And it was an interesting stance, because it's like he took a stand, but then he kind of circled back.
No. Not only did he take a stand, he said, I'm taking this stand and I'm going to sue you and you need to apologize to me, right?
To Viacom.
And then it's this simple. Either he was bullshitting when he first said the shit that he said, or he was bullshitting to get his gig back. Yeah. So either way, and one group was mad when he didn't apologize, and the other group was mad when he did. But the best way to avoid that is to say the shit you mean and be willing to take the slings and arrows that come with it. But you can't say, if you truly believe those things that you said, and all of us should be available to open to the idea that we said something wrong and we want to make it right. But if you believe those things and you were ill-informed, in your estimation, you were ill-informed and you didn't know, why say those things in the first place? Why don't you know what the fuck you talking about? Because when you say things like that, you can't please everybody, but at least what you have is a level of you have educated yourself and a level of conviction to your beliefs that are unassailable. But when you're trying to please everybody, when you kind of go, you can't go from your savages to, oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of tough for anybody to embrace that kind of whip snap.
Especially this comes off the heels of the Deshaun Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Where he basically, it was a fake Hitler quote, but you're still quoting Hitler.
Right.
That was when I went on Twitter and I just said, fuck Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
You saw that?
And I did see it, and
Yeah.
it is so. And everybody was saying they get slapped on the hands, but again, the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles acted that way was because in 2013, Riley Cooper said I'll whoop every nigga in here.
Yeah.
And they rewarded him the next year with a big contract. So they had to look consistent.
Yeah.
And why is it you say this shit and then all of a sudden, when you're at risk of losing, because you say these things for whatever reason, and if they're ill-informed and you take these kind of incendiary positions, you have an obligation to be informed and to understand what you're talking about. And even if you're off, to at least have it be rooted in a level of integrity that no one can question. But you can't just immediately crumble and go, oh, I didn't know that. When he gets on your ass, you should have took some of that wherewithal and invested a little bit of that before you make the statement.
Yeah, and for me, that rubbed me the wrong way because, like I said during my interview on The Breakfast Club, 9 of my grand aunts and uncles got killed by Nazis. All my grandfather's brothers and sisters were all murdered by Nazis. I'm missing about 50-something people in my family because all these people were slaughtered between getting shot, put in concentration camps, and the whole.
Right.
This is who you're quoting.
Right.
And not only are you trying to quote him, but you're making it look like Hitler was some sort of savior of Black Americans because they're the real Jews, and he was really trying to liberate Black Americans, when the reality is that Hitler was killing Blacks right along with the Jews.
The only reason
he was exterminating Blacks in Germany.
The only reason he didn't kill a lot of Black people was no Detroit and Munich. That's exactly, there was no...
Right.
But it's all these people, like even Candace Owens got fired from somewhere for making what looked like a statement in support of it. It clearly wasn't, but there's no way to nuance those things. There's no way. It's like there are things that you can't kind of nuance your way around, and particularly when you're ill-informed about it. Particularly when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then it comes off like he did this because he was being silenced, or she did this because either you believe what you said or you don't. And if you do believe what you said, I think you have an obligation to at least explain it in a way that people might not agree with you, but they understand at least your vantage point. And the other thing you do is if you're going to apologize, if you make a mistake and you're going to apologize, do it before shit is off the table. Like apologize before.
Yeah, I mean,
then people believe it. You can't apologize after you start losing shit and have people not go, see, he only did it because of that. We have a level of brutality in this country, and Europeans have a level of brutality that's undeniable.
Yeah.
Undeniable, primarily because they were the people in power. But you have right now, people are rightfully appalled by what happened to George Floyd, right?
Yeah.
But we have statues to men who did far worse.
Yeah.
And we glorify them. Like Nathan Bedford Forrest, and everybody thought it's a long time ago. The last Confederate monument was built in the 1990s, and his sole claim to fame was at Fort Pillow killing 400 Black soldiers who were surrendering. He slaughtered them. So you can take a thing and extrapolate that out and mean, well, that is because it's because they have no melanin. I don't believe that that's true, but I believe we have a history of people, at least in this part of our history, where people have been incredibly brutal for whatever reason.
Right.
Whether it's people in the Congo or Belgium.
King Leopold.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
now, if Nick said white people as a group have done terrible things to the world, I don't think anyone could really deny that.
Right. No, they would, because they would call it racist, but it is absolutely...
But white people as a group have done terrible things, have done, terrible acts and decimated entire populations and so forth.
Do you know that, we haven't records, there used to be people, they have a statue right now in New York to a man who's called the father of modern gynecology. You know what he did? He would have surgery. He would do surgery without anesthesia on enslaved black women.
Hmm.
He actually gets stitches without anesthesia, but he would actually cut them open. And he is called the father of modern gynecology. And you take that out from right now, because he didn't believe black people felt pain. And right now in America, there is a medical bias where doctors don't believe black people are capable of feeling pain.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so when I hear what Nick said, the why of it, the how it's associated with melanin, I can't tell you what it's associated with, but I can tell you that in history, in recent history, there have been these mass murders that were attributed to people for whatever reason, be they felt, and I don't care if it's the Indians, I don't care if it's the Africans, I don't care. There have been people that have slaughtered large numbers of people, and people didn't care about it.
Yeah.
And so where I think I didn't understand is that you say it's because of their lack of melanin. Whatever it is, there has been a level of brutality that has been visited. Killing 10 million of anything, and to have people never mention it is hard to take. The things that we have incidences in this country where you'll hear people say how horrible things are, and then forget about moments in history where they did far worse. Like thousands of black people killed at one time because white people got mad, and we pretend like it didn't happen. So you'll forget a truth because somebody added an element that was unnecessary to tell the truth.
When Kanye said Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves, she just sent them to go work for another white person.
Right. So Harriet Tubman
was a job recruiter.
Right. She worked for she was a temp agency.
She was a temp agency, right?
And that's what I mean. Kanye West is never so mentally unstable that he says anything other than about incredibly incendiary things about black people.
Right, he's never really said anything about white people.
Nope. And he ain't so crazy that he can't sign a deal with the Gap. And he's not so crazy that he can't get a $5 million PPP card.
Right.
He's not that crazy. He's only crazy right around the time a project comes out.
Yeah.
And I don't.
And he talks crazy about black people.
That's what. And he knows what to do. He knows. If you said, let me tell you something. If you said anything like that about any other group of people, you'd be castigated because you said it about us. You get to do it. Harriet Tubman was called Moses. She led people. She risked, and he made what Kanye does that I despise is he constantly put an asterisk next to slavery, like it wasn't that bad. Like all she was doing was taking them from one job to another.
Right. Except the difference is that you could quit your job in the North.
Right.
You can't quit slavery.
Exactly.
You can't say, I'm not going into work today.
Right.
I'll go on unemployment.
So he made it seem and makes it seem like her accomplishments weren't a big deal. And he does it for, at the same time that was happening, Donald Trump, the Secretary of Defense, had agreed to take the Confederate soldiers' names off the bases, right? Mm-hmm. And in an interview with Chris Wallace, Donald Trump said, well, who are we going to put on the base? Al Sharpton? Of course, people know Al Sharpton is going to be a base. But Harriet Tubman might.
Yeah. I mean, Harriet Tubman's supposed to be on a $20 bill.
Right. And
right.
So...
But according to Kanye...
Right. So what he does is, it's not... Is it really that coincidental that you bring up Harriet Tubman at a time when they're talking about who we're going to name these bases after? And somebody who was supposed to be a current... I don't think it's accidental. And I tell you what, and I said this before, him and Donald Trump are exactly the same kind of people. They are both morally, they're demagogues. They are narcissists. Neither of them read, and I've seen both their wives naked. They're the same people. And then to say that I'm going to enter an election when you haven't, at the most pivotal time in American history,
and potentially split the vote.
And to not give a shit.
Yeah.
To not care. Like, when at a time like this, what are you going to do about unemployment? What are you going to do about a pandemic? What are you going to do about a shredded economy? What are you going to do? Because everybody can't wear fucking Yeezys and hear Jesus walks all the goddamn time. That's not going to fix it. Mm-hmm. but you believe that it's dope to insert yourself at a time like this, you're the worst fucking kind of human being. And I have no respect for him. And I think that it says more about the 2% of Americans that would support him than it does about him. He has a fucking excuse. Stop telling me that, oh, he lost his mother. You know, it's a lot of homeless people that had tragedy happen to them and they couldn't put it together. And they don't live in Wyoming or Calabasas. We'll pray for Kanye. When's the last time you prayed for somebody who had their fucking mind shattered on the street? You don't do that?
Yeah, I mean, people at this point just give him a pass and do he's going through mental illness right now. I don't give a fuck what he's going through.
Yeah. Be crazy and shut the fuck up. I tell you this. Then he took the homeless people's outfit and sold it to America for hundreds of dollars. He is, when you lose your mind and you're not, and when personal tragedy happens to you, look at how many service veterans are homeless now because we sent them to war and didn't give them the resources they needed. Do we pray for them? Do we give them a break?
Yeah.
They're maligned and he's rewarded. He gets $5 million from the government to help him with his business. We wouldn't spend that much money opening a fucking shelter.
Yeah, I mean, that's trash because honestly, when this whole thing started and I got together with my team and I'm like, should we apply for a loan? And we're like, we're doing okay financially. We don't need to apply. We're going to end up taking money from someone who actually needs it. So we didn't apply for a loan. Point blank, VladTV is doing okay through the pandemic. We're not just going to take a bunch of money just because it's there. The end. Yeezy is one of the most successful brands in fashion, period. What the hell are you doing taking loans right now?
They're the same. And then you get to pretend like you're fucking nuts. You get to pretend like you couldn't make these kind of deals. And I'm not saying that he's not mentally disturbed. I'm not saying that he doesn't have problems, but I'm saying this. His problems are not the reason why he seems to disrespect black people and hates black women. That's irrespective of what's going on with him. Crazy. I mean, you having a mental problem doesn't make you say evil shit about slaves.
Right, because I believe, was it the day after you and I had our last interview that the George Floyd murder happened?
Uh-huh.
It was literally like the next day.
Or a couple.
Or maybe a couple of days. Yeah. And it was like, oh shit. Like, we're about to roll out this interview and completely ignore George Floyd because it just happened before we actually got a chance to speak on it. Let's switch gears for a second. Do you know Will Smith?
I do.
Okay. Well?
Listen, the last thing I'm going to do is give relationship advice, all the bullshit I've done.
Entanglements.
But I just wouldn't want to be I knew it was bad when I saw the motherfuckers me with them on the Soul Train scramble board. Like, I'm like, oh.
Entanglement on the scramble board.
But it's just like I was talking to my daughter, and my daughter had a friend who she brought home from college and she lived with us, right? And she needed a place to stay. And she lived with us, and I accepted her as now she's been there so long and we've known each other so long that she's literally like my daughter to me. Imagine me and my old lady, me and my wife break up, and I start messing around with her.
Yeah, because August Alsina was Jaden's friend.
Right.
Who he brought to the house.
So I think it was, and I'm not, look, I ain't in nobody's business, it's their thing, but when they were talking, well, he was sick and he was mentally sick and he was emotionally sick. Now, that's predatory.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually compared her, Jada Pinkett, to R. Kelly without the underage part. And people got really mad. But without the underage part, what's really the difference?
Let me tell you something. If you're sick, like he's physically ill.
Yeah. He's
emotionally, and then the damage you do. Like, this dude was talking about killing himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it isn't just you having an affair. or whatever you do. It's that in your wake, because you felt bad, that dude was fucked up behind it.
Still is.
And you can't tell me that if that were Will, he'd never be saving the world again. I don't understand. Like to me, that was that if somebody is mentally ill, they are physically ill, they are compromised in some way, you financially support them, and then that is the whole reason that the Me Too movement exists, because people leveraged
their power
and
money.
influence. But right, so I don't understand the difference, and I don't understand how we parse it out differently. But had the situation been reversed,
right?
I think that there would have been it would have been a totally different reaction by society.
Right, and Will Smith is looking bad,
man.
Like that whole crying meme face that's replacing the Jordan.
You replaced the Jordan meme.
You replaced the Jordan meme. That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
I'm not. Listen, and I'm not saying I wouldn't be with you. I'm not saying we couldn't work it out. I'm not sitting at the fuck across from you.
Yeah.
Well, that's
why,
not
why,
fair.
why do the red table?
It ain't fair. But I'll see you at home when we get to the kitchen table. But I'm not getting ready to.
We could be at the lawyer's table.
Are you fucking crazy? I'm not getting ready to do that. And I've done a lot of bullshit.
Right.
But I would never. I'm not sitting there while that happens. And I don't give a fuck how it looks to people. And I don't like at a certain point. I don't feel like they owe anybody anything.
No.
But the last thing I would do is sit there and look like man. And I'm look. Will is a dope, nice cat. He saved the world. Like he's like
multiple times.
But
Independence Day.
And I'm sure, like to me, come on, you fucking the brand up.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Nurse Hawthorne has a lot of fans, but not fucking, I'm not ready to do it.
No, I mean, Will's looking kind of like a cuckold right now.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when August said, and Will gave me permission, that's when everyone just said, oh, God.
Well, it went from August Alsina to August Alteller. First off, let me tell you something. If I let you fuck my wife, don't fuck me too. I'm not thin ready to.
Right.
Shut up. But that's what happens when you are. What was the best result that could have happened from a young, mentally unstable dude? What did you think would happen?
There's pictures of all three of them, like hugged up on each other, taking pictures.
Fuck that. I can't do it.
She's parading him around.
I can't do it.
On red carpets with him.
I'm not that. Look here. I ain't built that way.
Yeah, I feel you.
Now, I'm not going to say it couldn't happen. I'm not saying what I forgive or not forgive. What I wouldn't be doing is sitting my ass up there while you make me a fucking meme. That ain't happening.
Well, then there was the whole Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez situation where, I don't know, I guess he shot her in the foot because she wanted to get out the car.
Well, he's
allegedly. I don't know what's really
that's
happening.
That's all he could
yet.
reach, though. He was like, he's not like, look, man. Isn't he from Canada or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
There's a whole thing trying to deport him right now. Like there's people are signing petitions to try and deport him back to Canada.
Look, I stopped fucking with Canadians when I saw what Justin Bieber did to Calabasas. This is the first time I've ever called the police on a white dude. Ever. These fucking Canadians, we got to get rid of them, man. All of them.
They're pretty dangerous.
Yeah, man. Let all the Mexicans go. Canadians got to go. We can't.
We got to build that wall on the north.
Tamia, Steve Nash, y'all got to go too. Jim Carrey, I love you, motherfucker, but you got to leave. My manager, all y'all got to go.
All y'all. Yeah, I mean, I never thought, when I heard that Megan got shot, it's like, okay, something happened, like a gunfight nearby. When I heard that Tory Lanez shot her,
man,
that was just insane.
And he's not in jail yet.
Well, he was in jail. He bonded out.
Yeah.
He bonded out.
But he's not in jail.
He's not in jail right now. Well, technically, when you're bonding out, you're technically still in jail.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying.
I would be in Calgary so fast. This motherfucker. fucking Canadians.
Well, speaking of R. Kelly, we had Boosie on recently. And he swore up and down that R. Kelly interview. Has more hits than Michael Jackson, Prince, and Stevie Wonder.
I saw that interview.
And by the way, nobody can go in a versus battle with R. Kelly in the world, living or dead. Y'all lucky he in trouble, motherfucker.
Wait, hold on. That's a good.
Nobody. Who you gonna call? Michael Jackson? No.
Beyonce?
Beyonce? No. Nobody got more hits than R. Kelly. Nobody. I'll wait.
Stevie Wonder's still alive.
He can't fuck with no R. Kelly.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder can't fuck with no R. Kelly.
Stevie Wonder.
Let's keep it real, man. Nobody can fuck with R. Kelly when it come to hits. Nobody can battle him. Nobody. I don't give a damn what he did, who he fucked. I know he fucked up, but when it come to talent, we cannot take this away from R. Kelly.
I was riding with my wife, and I told her, it's Sunday, as a matter of fact. He didn't tell the truth, but he didn't lie.
R. Kelly
He
has
didn't
a lot
tell
of
the truth,
hits.
but he didn't lie. Let me just say this.
Explain.
I imagine, well, first off, bless their souls, they're not here. But a versus battle, he do all right against anybody.
This is true.
I mean, sure, they'd have to have bailiffs next door while he did it, but right now it's him versus the United States. So I'm gonna think some other shit, but
that's his versus battle.
Yeah.
R. Kelly's versus R. Kelly versus the United States of
it's
America.
him versus the people of Illinois is what the fuck it is right now. But for real though, like
R. Kelly got a lot of hits, but
I mean,
Michael Jackson and Prince, Stevie Wonder. I was trying to defend Stevie, but Stevie doesn't have as many
let me
hits
tell you something.
as R.
I'm
Kelly.
not saying it's true, but it ain't a lie either. Like you see those cats. Like when I saw Snoop and DMX,
Pretty fair.
dude, they're dope.
Yeah.
And I would have thought it would have went a different way, but no, I mean they were dope. But R. Kelly, remembering all the stuff that listen, man, people forget. R. Kelly wrote an album that was so dope, we forgot he peed on a girl. Like that. Like he had to be right now. I'm gonna make these motherfuckers forget all about me peeing on this girl.
Right.
So,
and people did.
And if it wasn't for that interview,
Ignition came out after the sex tape.
So
Step in the Name of Love.
I'm in black radio, and you know who black radio. Black women are the most powerful in black radio. They run it. They say what comes on. They say how long it's played. They say how big a hit it is. And they fucked with him. And his music was so dope that up until that documentary came out, he was doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anyone happier over the whole Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez thing than Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Because that made everyone forget about what he did to
Absolutely.
Rihanna.
Yeah,
Like, well, I didn't shoot her.
Right.
She doesn't have any bullet holes.
Right.
A lot of bruises.
Right.
Maybe a fractured cheek,
Right.
but no
Right.
bullet holes.
Right.
She didn't have to have surgery on both of her
Man,
feet.
those fucking Canadians, man, you gotta watch them. Gotta watch.
Right, because
I saw him one time.
Chris Brown?
No, Tory.
Tory Lanez?
I was in New York.
Is he really 5'2"?
I was in New York. Now, I ain't the tallest motherfucker, but I felt like Shaq. I'll say that. But I'll say this. I saw him. He was doing the Breakfast Club. I was doing it too. And he gone in before me and I got out. And it made a stallion, it just seemed.
I can't picture that.
No.
If they're really having sex, the two of them, 120 pounds, like 200 pounds, 5'2", 5'10", I just don't see it. I can't picture it.
Every pot got a cover, I guess.
Well, speaking of fights, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. I didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, but
not Roy Jones, because Roy Jones is a lighter guy. He got up to light heavyweight at like 165. Yeah. Mike Tyson was like what, 220?
215, 220.
Yeah.
And he looks first.
And Tyson's a monster.
He is a monster, and I don't think he knows this is for play.
He doesn't think it's an exhibition.
No. And Roy got his ass whipped by Antonio Tarver.
Right.
And Antonio Tarver got his ass whipped by Rocky. So I mean, his last few fights, like I think Roy had a fight in Russia. I don't know, like 5 or 6.
I have no idea.
Man,
Roy, I always looked at him as the middleweight. I've always
He's a
looked at him
great boxer.
Great boxer in his day. No, I mean, listen, in his prime, Roy would hit you with a 23 punch combination and like duck everything that you're punching out. I mean, we used to watch tapes and just rewind this shit. It was amazing.
But you can look at it. Evander Holyfield wasn't that big a guy.
Holyfield was pretty big.
No, he wasn't a big. Like he moved all the way. Remember, he moved all cruiserweight, like fighting Dwight Quite. He came up to that weight.
Yeah. No, he gained muscle. Yeah.
And when he first fought Tyson, we thought he was too light.
Yeah.
Now Roy Jones is too light, but I don't think they're gonna really try to kill you. It could in the real world, it could never be sanctioned because they're vastly different weight classes. But I guess everybody wants to see
Mike Tyson.
These two do. Yeah.
People really want to see Mike Tyson.
Well, I saw that training video.
Yeah. And I don't think Tyson...
He's the baddest 53-year-old man in the world.
Right. And I remember I interviewed Michael Franzese,
yeah,
the ex-mafia guy who was on Tyson's show, and they hung out a couple times. And he was talking to Tyson, and he was like, what is it about boxing? And Tyson told him, he's like, I just like watching things fight. He said, honestly, I'll watch two bugs fight all night because I just like watching fights.
You know what? I was with Mike Tyson the other night. We went to dinner and we were talking about, his training. He looks great, by the way. He's in great shape and, he's training for a fight. So I said, Mike, are you going to really do that MMA thing? And he was with two of his trainers and they said, no, we don't want him doing that. But I said, Mike, do you enjoy that? He says to me, Michael, I love to watch two bugs fight. I'll watch them fight all night long. He said, I want to see everybody fight and I want to watch it all night long.
Like Tyson, have you met Tyson?
Oh yeah. And
have you had conversations with Tyson?
And it's always a little, you ever stood outside and you could hear the energy in a telephone pole, the wires?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that. Like it feels like something could happen.
I talked to Tyson one time. This was during my mixtape days. This was maybe 2004. I ran into him. He was walking into a soul food restaurant in Inglewood. I was in the parking lot. I saw, oh, it's Mike Tyson. Let me go give him my mixtape. So I walked up to Mike Tyson. I said, hi, Mike. How you doing? I'm DJ Vlad. I just want to give you this mixtape that I made. He goes, oh, okay, thank you. You make this mixtape? I said, yeah. So this is your mixtape? Yeah. You're the one who put it together? Yeah. This is your name on it? Yes, it is. So you're the one who did this mixtape. And this just kept going on and on.
Right.
And I'd have to answer every time because it's Mike Tyson. I don't want to piss the guy off, get punched in the face. I'm answering the same question probably about 13 times. Right. And then he said, okay, thank you. And he went into the soul food restaurant.
But a really nice,
he was very nice. Yeah. He was very nice. But I'm saying it was not a normal conversation that I've had with other human beings.
No, because when people beat people up for a living, their conversations tend to be a little different.
Well, rest in peace, John Lewis.
Yeah.
Died at the age of 80.
Uh-huh.
Trump didn't attend his
Of course not. And here's the thing. At a certain point, if you sign to be the president of the United States of America, you're a figurehead and you have to go to dignitaries and important people's funerals. You have to show up. You have to make an appearance, right? Mm-hmm. The fact that he doesn't have enough respect for the office, like what he did to John McCain, what he does, Donald Trump has lowered the blue book value of the presidency. like he's the first dude.
Made Kanye think he could win.
Yeah. Well, he did win. So, but the bottom line is, being a president is not about just flying places and saying dope shit. It is about doing the business of the country. And doing the business of the country is to bury its fallen heroes, whether you think they're a hero or not. Like I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna pay any. He did it to John McCain. John McCain fought and was captured and bled for this country. Mm-hmm. Whether you liked him or not, he was a personal or political adversary or not, that is the gig you sign up for when you're president. You got to go to people's funerals. You got to go to this to do the business of the president. You got to pretend. And the reason right now that America's in the shape that it's in, because he can't even muster up the ability to pretend like he gives a fuck.
At all.
Can't do it.
Doesn't put up Obama's portrait in the White House. Doesn't go to John Lewis's funeral.
Said bad things about John. made them cover up John McCain's name on that battleship because he didn't want to see it. He's made the United States weaker, sicker, and pettier.
I agree.
So, and that's exactly why I do like Kanye West could be a great vice president fan.
Well, since last time Pop Smoke, 5 people were arrested around his murder.
Yeah.
And I remember when it first happened, the conspiracy theories. Oh, well, he just got charged with stealing that Rolls Royce. Maybe it's the guy that he took the Rolls Royce from. Oh, well, maybe it's some Brooklyn gang shit because, he was a Brooklyn Crip and then there's all a bunch of beef that happened in that neighborhood or whatever else. And you come to find out it was 5 local gang members from LA who saw him flash his address on social media and then just showed up at his house, and basically a robbery that turned into a murder is what the police are saying. 2 of the people arrested are minors. So this makes me think these are like 17 and 18-year-olds. And it's such a waste.
It is, but you know what? It's these.
And you grew up in these types of neighborhoods with these type of guys.
And let me tell you, what I've always found disturbing is the people that can't. All those cats seem to be killed by dudes from here. Like Biggie, Tupac, and I don't know what Pop Smoke would have been, but it would have been nice to see.
Pop Smoke was on his way.
So
Pop Smoke was. Let me tell you something. This whole movement that's happening in Brooklyn hip hop, Pop Smoke was the torchbearer of that. The way the beats sound, the way people are rapping, and everything else like that. Pop Smoke was a star in the making, which is why his album went #1 after he passed. Huge influence. Travis Scott had him on his album. But
look at all that. It's sad, and I love where I'm from, and I love this city. Nipsey,
yeah,
Tupac, Biggie, this young man.
Some of the biggest
all
rap icons have been
here.
killed by LA gangsters,
and who don't seem to differentiate something that they've seen here from the shit that they know from here. It's mind-boggling.
Right? Because we talked about this. You were a Blood at one point. And I've interviewed lots of gangsters. The regulars on my show,
right.
Trey D, Mob James, BG Knockout. These are all people that have shot people. Some of them have killed people.
Right.
They've talked about it on camera.
Right.
In self-defense. But MC8. We talked about the mentality of a drive-by, of doing this type of thing, and look at Chicago. 15 people were shot in front of a funeral home.
Right.
A funeral home. I've never heard of that before.
I have.
You have?
Oh yeah.
People getting.
I have.
I've heard of someone getting shot at a funeral. Okay, a fight breaks out at a funeral. Tensions are high. I understand. My dad's funeral was not very pleasant for me. There's people there I didn't like. I get it.
But I've known people who
15
murdered
people
somebody.
shot.
I've not known, but I grew up. People would murder somebody and then shoot up his funeral. I mean, it's one of the things I've always. The reasons I try to see the world like, because you grow up here and it's so small, and all that matters is this thing, and then you see how big it is, and look at how devastating that mentality is. Just to our community. Look at the things that those men would have gone on to accomplish. What if those men had gotten to be our age now?
Yeah.
Where they would be at now. The things they would be saying.
Yeah. Imagine Tupac as a voice in the 2020 election. Imagine Tupac telling Kanye to shut the fuck up.
Right.
And everyone's saying, yeah.
Right.
This is the guy we need to listen to. We need to stop listening to Kanye.
Imagine what
Tupac
Biggie would have done. Imagine what Nipsey was doing.
Yeah.
And it's there seems to be this thing from here, and this is the city I love and grew up in. Why them all the time?
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be proud of.
No.
And it's devastating to our future. Because how influential those men were, but how many people grew with them and how much more influential they would have been. You talk about John Lewis and how impactful he was in his way, obviously. Mm-hmm. And how many decades.
He lived to 80.
Yeah.
He was 80
and how
years
many
old.
decades he influenced people. He's one of the first black people to lie in state. They carried his body over a bridge that he was beaten on. He look at what he was at a 22-year-old man and the things he accomplished at 80. Imagine men like that who got to do that, who got to have that continual experience that they can impart to people, and to be snuffed out by a mentality that has to have something in it. It's got to be something in the soil and the water because it's specifically here.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, look
listen,
at you. I ain't trying to be funny. It's Kennedy. It's funny. Like, look at all this shit that has happened. Like here, like Kennedy's. All the people that could have been impactful have been killed by people in. It's sad to me.
I mean, you grew up around guys that do this. What is their mentality? What is their justification?
They didn't. I couldn't. It's such a foreign thing to me now to be that devoid. This is what I will say, and then I remember when I grew up, these dudes had done some dirt, and I remember them laughing about it. Later on, when I was a much older much older man, I would recognize that they were sociopaths. Now, I would have never known that before, but they were sociopaths.
Yeah.
They took, and I instantly knew I didn't have that in me. I was like, I don't want to do a thing I can't come back from and have somebody give me validation.
Well,
that would have been a lot.
Well, how much of it is being a sociopath versus being bred and trained from an early age to do certain things?
Yeah, but even at that, there is,
like for example, like you look at some of these African countries and they have these child armies.
Right.
They have these 12, 13, 10-year-old kids. They put guns in their hand. This is what you do.
They give them gunpowder and cocaine.
Yeah.
And they slaughter their loved ones and they make them do horrible things and they indoctrinate them.
Right. Now, are they sociopaths or were they trained to be a certain type of way?
Here's the thing.
Was every Nazi soldier a sociopath or were they just going along with orders? Because there's been lots of experiments. Like you remember like the whole shock therapy experiment where they showed that as long as someone's superior told them to keep going with an experiment, they would kill people essentially by shocking them when they told wrong answers in a test. These were not sociopaths. These were people that were just following orders. And a lot of times there is a hierarchy in these gangs, right? There's the OGs.
Okay, but
there's the shock collars.
This This thing we're talking about right now. 5 dudes saw something on TV and said, we're going to do something about this right now, right? Now, that was just 2 dudes. There was men that were, and I guarantee you that the people who were pivotal in that probably were sociopaths. Now, then there's beta, there's all kinds of things that happen. But when these things happen, there's going to be somebody that's sociopathic in that. And why the fact that you don't Bill Cosby's son got killed. Like it's all this stuff has happened here. What is it about that? What is it that makes me look at all the things. You know what I
think? You know what I think part of it is, as someone who's lived in LA for a while, but wasn't born and raised in LA, but who's spent, at this point, I'm 7 years into LA.
Yeah.
You get put in this place and you have so many quote unquote stars that are just commonplace. You'll be at the Starbucks, you'll see Jamie Foxx.
Right.
You'll be the Jack in the Box. You'll see a Rolls Royce pull up. You go to these southern cities, this is not like that. Go to Tennessee, go to Memphis, go to wherever. This is why, for example, I remember someone explaining to me how the morning show hosts in these cities are the stars of the city.
Right.
Whereas you go to LA, no one really gives much of a shit about who's doing the morning show because there's actual movie stars in the city. you're seeing this, and you're just bombarded by this wealth and this fame
but
and
you know
this
what?
glamour. And you go home and you're living in squalor.
I can tell you this. I grew up on 135th and Avalon. My mother still lives in that neighborhood.
Okay.
I remember I never even went to the beach we went down one freeway, Cabrillo Beach, way down the 110. Never went out that way. I never knew white people lived in this city. I would see them on Bob Barker and they go, we live in LA. And I go, I didn't know. And then one time I went to West LA and it says now entering West LA. And I went, oh, they live here. Because you are so insulated. You're so sad. And all I knew was my neighborhood, and all I cared about was my neighborhood. And the only place I could go, there was nowhere to go. Every mall I went to, every person I visited was in that small thing. And now, and it breeds a certain type of us versus them and not caring about anybody other than that group.
But your day was before the internet, before social media. You know what I mean? You could not see a video on your phone of a music star that you listen to 15 miles away. And they're right there. That's their address. You did not have that. You watched Soul Train, MTV.
But look at what happened.
NBC, whatever else. You did not see.
Tupac was before. It was before.
It was before Tupac. It was before everyone.
Biggie was before. But what is it about this place with these cats have this thing?
Yeah.
And it makes me sad because it's a city I fucking love. I live in LA and New York, but I've lived here my whole life. I love it.
Yeah.
But I also understand that there are things that I see here that I go everywhere, and there is a thing I see here. Los Angeles has the most deadly police department in America. The most deadly consistently the most deadly police department in America. And I think one of the things that happens here is that it's a breeding ground for this anger and I'm gonna get mine and I don't care about that person. Like and it's so specific from neighborhood to neighborhood. You could live, like I grew up on this side of Avalon. I loved all those dudes. On that side of Avalon, I didn't. And literally, if I threw a rock from my side of Avalon, I'd hit somebody that lived there. That's such a different, and I guarantee you that when those young cats got a chance to grow up and see how different it would look. So now I love people from, like my security dude is a Mexican dude. Well, I grew up, that could have never happened with that mentality. And he watches my back, and he's my. Well, he didn't.
Because you guys were at war with Mexicans at that point.
It's just nobody liked anybody from anywhere else.
Yeah.
And well, he let me fall, and I think he did that on purpose. some brother he's a fucking shitty shortstop, but we were always fragmented. It was always this thing. It's always here and not there. Always us and not them. And I think it's so pervasive. Because one thing I noticed, it always seems to be people from here that have a tendency to find themselves where they're in proximity to hurt these people.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago when they would have events, people would have to basically get permission so they can get jammed up and robbed and jacked up to come in. Like they couldn't have, you can't have Black award shows here like the sort. Remember all that shit? You couldn't do it because people would get fucked up.
Yeah. No, I mean, the LA riots happened here. When you look at the riots that happened all around the country and the world, LA really set the stage for all that.
And they happened, and those riots happened in the same 35-year period.
Yeah. Did you know that they're actually selling, they're auctioning off the camera that was used to record the Rodney King beating?
And
the camera doesn't even work.
It didn't work. It didn't work for Rodney either at trial.
All right. D.L. Hughley, always a pleasure.
Likewise, V.
Always epic whenever we do it, man.
Likewise.
Glad you're healthy. Glad you recovered.
Thank you, man.
Because it could have gone very, very bad for you and the people around you. So I'm glad you're fully recovered, man. And just keep doing your thing.
You too, man. I'll see you in a couple weeks. I love it here.
Peace.